Episode 2, Blood Oaths and Broken Trust. Scene 1, The Aftermath. Lila barely slept the night after her initiation into the Golden Circle. The whispers in the hallways grew louder by the second. Everywhere she turned, she felt eyes on her, students leaning against lockers, whispering behind cupped hands, their eyes darting between her and Mia's empty seat in homeroom. By the time lunch rolled around, Mia still hadn't shown up. Lila's guilt gnawed at her, but she tried to ignore it as she sat at the Golden Circle's table for the first time. It felt like everyone in the cafeteria was watching. "Welcome to the top," Serena said with a smirk, stabbing her salad with a silver fork. "How does it feel to finally matters?" "Serena," Avery warned, her tone deceptively light. She turned to Lila, offering her a dazzling smile. "Ignore her. You did great last night. Not everyone passes their first test." Lila nodded, pretending to eat her sandwich. She could still feel the weight of Mia's betrayal on her shoulders. Just then, Ethan slid into the seat next to her. His presence was casual, but his hand brushed lightly against hers under the table. "How's the new recruit holding up?" he asked, his eyes locked on Lila's. Before she could respond, Serena's voice cut through the air. "Careful, Ethan," she said, her tone sugary sweet but laced with venom. "Wouldn't want anyone to get the wrong idea." Avery raised an eyebrow, her gaze flickering between Ethan and Lila. The tension at the table was palpable. "Relax, Serena," Ethan said smoothly, leaning back in his chair. "I'm just making sure she knows she's part of the family now." "Speaking of family," Avery said, her voice suddenly serious. "We need to make it official." The table fell silent. Lila looked around, confused. "What do you mean?" she asked. Avery exchanged a glance with Serena, who smirked. "It's time for the blood oath," Avery said, her tone as casual as if she were discussing weekend plans. Lila's stomach dropped. Scene 2, The Blood Oath. Later that evening, Lila found herself in Avery's private garden behind the Harrington estate. The air was crisp, and the faint scent of jasmine lingered in the breeze. The Golden Circle stood in a semicircle around a stone table, lit by flickering candlelight. On the table was a small silver dagger and a bowl of what appeared to be red wine. "This is how we bind ourselves to each other," Avery explained, her voice reverent. "No matter what happens, no matter what secrets come out, we protect each other. Always." Lila glanced at Ethan, who gave her a reassuring nod. Serena, on the other hand, was watching her like a hawk, waiting for any sign of hesitation. Avery picked up the dagger and made a shallow cut on her palm, letting a single drop of blood fall into the bowl. One by one, the others followed suit. When it was Lila's turn, her hands trembled slightly, but she forced herself to remain steady. The sting of the blade was sharp but brief, and her blood mixed with the others. Avery raised the bowl, her expression solemn. "We drink to seal our bond," she said, taking a sip before passing it around. When it reached Lila, she hesitated for only a moment before lifting the bowl to her lips. The metallic tang of blood mixed with the bitterness of wine made her stomach churn, but she swallowed and handed it back. "Welcome to the family," Avery said, her smile both warm and chilling. Scene 3, Shadows of Doubt. The next day, Lila tried to focus on her classes, but the events of the previous night weighed heavily on her. The blood oath felt more like a curse than a blessing. She couldn't shake the feeling that she had crossed a line she could never uncross. After school, Lila found a note in her locker. "Meet me behind the gym at 4 o'clock. We need to talk." It was unsigned, but she had a sinking feeling she knew who it was from. Sure enough, when she arrived, Mia was waiting for her. Her eyes were red and puffy, and her arms were crossed tightly over her chest. "You ruined my life," Mia said, her voice shaking with anger. "Everyone knows about my brother now. Do you have any idea what that's done to my families?" Lila opened her mouth to apologize, but Mia cut her off. "Save it. I should have known you'd do anything to climb the social ladder, just like everyone else at this school." "That's not fair," Lila said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I didn't have a choice." "Don't lie to me," Mia snapped. "You always have a choice, Lila. But you made yours." Before Lila could respond, Mia turned and walked away, leaving her standing alone in the shadow of the gym. Scene 4. The Anonymous Threat. That night, as Lila lay in bed replaying her confrontation with Mia, her phone buzzed with a notification. She unlocked it to find a message from an unknown number. "They're not your friends. Watch your back." Her heart raced as she stared at the screen. Who could have sent it?
Mia?
Someone else who knew about the Golden Circle's secrets? The next day, Lila showed the message to Ethan, hoping for some clarity. "It's probably just someone trying to mess with you," Ethan said, though his expression was more serious than his tone. "You're part of the circle now. People are going to be jealous. But what if it's more than that?" Lila pressed. "What if someone knows about what we've done?" Ethan hesitated for a moment before placing a hand on her shoulder. "Don't worry. We'll handle it. You're not alone in this." Despite his reassurance, Lila couldn't shake the feeling that she was being watched. Scene 5. Serena's game. As the days passed, the tension within the Golden Circle grew. Avery seemed more stressed than usual, constantly checking her phone and whispering to Serena during their private meetings. Lila noticed that Serena's smirks had become more frequent, as if she knew something no one else did. One afternoon, Lila caught Serena alone in the library. "Enjoying your time at the top?" Serena asked, not bothering to hide her disdain. "What's your problem with me?" Lila demanded, her patience finally wearing thin. "My problem," Serena said, leaning in close, "is that you don't belong here. You think you can just waltz in and take what's ours? You're nothing but a charity case." Lila clenched her fists, but before she could respond, Serena smirked and added, "But don't worry. You won't last long. People like you never do." Lila left the library, her mind racing. Serena was clearly trying to push her out, but why? What was her endgame? Scene 6. The next target. That night, Golden Secrets posted a new update, a grainy photo of Serena meeting with an older man in a dark alley. The caption read, "Even the Queen's closest allies have secrets." The post sent shockwaves through the school. Students whispered about Serena's potential involvement in some illicit affair, and for the first time, her confidence seemed to waver. Avery called an emergency meeting of the Golden Circle, her usual composure replaced by barely contained panic. "We have a mole," she said, her voice cold. "Someone's trying to tear us apart." The group exchanged uneasy glances. "We need to find out who it is," Avery continued. "And when we do, they'll regret ever crossing us." As the meeting broke up, Lila couldn't shake the feeling that things were spiraling out of control. The circle was cracking, and it was only a matter of time before everything came crashing down.